Forward to
Okay.
talking with you.
Uh, we are going to talk right now with Spencer Stensrud. He's the CEO of Ag Venture Alliance, a seed stage venture capital fund based in Mason City, Iowa. Ag Ventures Alliance is a farmer-owned cooperative that invests in startups that increase farm profitability. Spencer cut his entrepreneurial teeth in high school on a venture selling skateboards. Just had to say that. Sorry, Spencer. That led to founding an indoor skateboard park in Mason City. He did many things since and started at Ag Ventures Alliance in 2016 as an investment analyst. He's also a farmer, a real estate investor, and a board member for a number of startups, of course. Spencer, thanks for joining us this morning.
Happy to be here. Great event so far, and I've really enjoyed this other speakers.
Thank you. Um, Ag Ventures Alliance is such a model, I think, for the rest of our region. It started in 1998 as a farmers cooperative. You've got about 400 farmers. It grew into a legitimate ag tech venture firm. And I have to say, when I first heard about you guys, I thought, what? A cooperative that became a venture capital firm? And I called a venture capitalist I know on the East Coast and said, like, do you know them? Oh yeah, they're legit. They do deals with everybody. And so what a special circumstance. And tell us what made this special thing happen in Iowa? How did you get into the venture investing?
Yeah, well, the origin story was really just like started with I think just a few farmers, and they were frustrated after a kind of a down period in commodity markets, and actually, Jim, it was the same year that Verdex started. It was 1998, so this group of farmers just got together and they were frustrated and kind of like they were at the end of their rope kind of, and wanted to try to do something about the low prices or take the future into their own hands. In ag, it's really kind of a tough business to be in, to be a farmer. You're dependent on so many other things. You're dependent on the weather. You're dependent on markets that you have no control over. And all of your suppliers are pretty concentrated in each category. There's like three fertilizer companies and two and a half ag chemical companies, or seed and chemical companies. So it's really, you're kind of I mean, it's just puts you in a tough spot. And so these guys, at this time, they wanted to do something about it to kind of take the control back. And they ended up looking at a lot of different ideas. The first idea was to open a steakhouse um, because if people ate more steak, then there'd need to be more cows, and cows eat the corn. And thankfully, somebody in that early group put a pencil to that, and they figured out that that probably wasn't going to move the needle on the hundreds of thousands of corn acres in this area. Um, so then they set their sights a little bit higher and looked at a grocery store, and that still wasn't going to do it. So um, they ended up landing on an ethanol plant. And this was right at the wave that kind of a new technology wave was coming into ethanol production. And so this group of a small group of farmers to start with kind of went door to door and basically sold this concept and an investment to their friends and neighbors. And we had roughly 1,000 families in northern Iowa, southern Minnesota that ended up investing in an ethanol plant, all owned by farmers. They had the upside of being able to sell their corn to the ethanol plant, and it really worked out beautifully. The Green Plains ended up buying that ethanol plant when they were doing a roll up of ethanol plants, and then in a cash and stock deal. And so then those 1,000 families ended up getting a nice return on their investment. And then Green Plains ended up going public, and they got enough, and then they got stock that they were able to sell, and to varying results there, um, but
Throw it back.
nonetheless, yeah, really good first experience as angel investors. And luckily, somebody had the insight to say, "Hey, let's try to keep this group together and do it again." And so they did, and then over time, the opportunities have changed. I actually don't think we could develop a huge infrastructure project like that today if we wanted to. But where we have the winding road has led us into emerging technology, and there is a lot of that happening in ag today.
So one of the Ag Ventures Alliance does also have an angel group called Countryside Angels. Tell us about that. That feeds into some of your venture deals, I assume.
Yeah, that's right. So an angel group, it's kind of like an investment club that allows people who meet certain SEC rules. You basically have to have a really high income or a $1 million net worth, and then then the federal government says that you're smart enough to make investments in private companies. So we don't make the rules; we just try to follow them.
How big is the angel group?
We've got, I think we have roughly 75 members right now. So that's kind of a sub-segment of our overall membership
Yep.
that has said, kind of raised their hand and said, hey, we want to look at investment opportunities too.
So the interesting thing is that you went from all of that to legit venture capital firm. How did you know how to do that?
It was just like anything, it was trial and error. And along the way, we made plenty of mistakes, and we did have, I think we kind of had one secret weapon that was working for us the whole time, and we didn't know it, and have since kind of figured that out. The um, but what we were doing is we had always had farmers involved on our investment committee and making the investment decisions in ag tech or ag startups. So it's kind of like the customer saying, hey, we want this, before the product is really there. So we call it farmer driven innovation. I actually would love to see somebody else try it in a different segment, and see if the customer driven innovation works outside of ag.
What I'd like to see is you get more farmers groups to do the same thing in the Midwest, right?
Yeah, and I know you wanted to ask about like how can other people do this, and I'd love to say like just get everybody together. But I have a feeling that it's like one of those things where like lightning only strikes the same place once, where because the other thing that really helped is that the first deal worked. And there were actually several other groups, kind of like Ag Ventures Alliance, that started at the same time.
Oh.
But if that first deal didn't work, they kind of like, it's notorious, and it's notorious in angel groups too. And we kind of knew that going in, which probably was also another advantage. But you make your first couple angel investments, they go to zero, and then like who wants to do that again? Even if you were, or you get lucky and one of them works, and then to keep going. But otherwise, kind of the typical path is like the win rate is pretty small on venture type investments. So we've taken over time, we've learned that also, and you need to get to kind of a certain number of investments or portfolio companies to give yourself the chance at having the big outlier outcomes, which we've all had several of those now.
You make pre-seed and seed stage investments, and you've got about 50 portfolio companies. What kind of companies do you like to invest in, and how do you work with them?
Well, so with the mission component to what we're doing, every startup that we invest in is going to have a direct impact on the farmer. So that comes in lots of different ways. One of the kind of exciting companies in the portfolio right now is a company called Grain Weevil. If you use TikTok, you've probably seen their videos because 150 million other people have. They touch farmers because they increase safety from not having a robot that goes in and breaks up crusts in grain bins, so farmers don't have to go in. So we've got that kind of side of it, and then all the way down to like biotech companies developing new traits for crops.
You also do an annual conference for your members? Is it just for your members?
No, we invite anybody. We've got usually this year we had a pretty good presence of other investors. Usually have some other just interested people too, but we hold that in March every year, and have kind of turned it into like a one-day conference kind of thing. We also do a field day in the summer, and we're working on that right now. It'll be July 30th in Mason City. If any of you want to make the trip, we'll have some robots and other cool things being built by startups there to kind of showcase what they're doing, and also try to weave in some good content as well.
And everyone here will get a contact list of everyone who's here, so you'll be able to email Spencer if you want to get more information on that. You've also got a partnership with Ag Launch, the Memphis-based nonprofit we're going to be talking with next. Through the partnership, you do farm trials. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. And if there's any questions in there, I'd love it to be interactive for what time we do have left. But we started working with Ag Launch about 5 years ago. It was just kind of a serendipitous match. My former boss, before he retired, was on a panel with the president of Ag Launch, and before that, we were kind of just like every other like ag supplier, where it's like, hey, there's this new product. Hey, farmer, there's this new product. If will you test this on your field and give us all the information, and if it works, you can buy it again next year. Best case scenario is it's free this year, you pay for it next year. Normal scenario is you can buy it both years. And Ag Launch had kind of flipped that model on its head, and they were working with startups a little bit earlier, and where that field testing and customer feedback was really important, and they were actually earning equity or getting paid in equity by those startups for helping them through those early product development, testing, and trials. And so we loved that, and at the same time we had kind of took a look at all of the accelerators out there in the country, and we thought that Ag Launch had the best kind of accelerator program in the nation, and so we kind of made a deal where we would invest in each of the companies going through their accelerator, and they would help us bring this farm trial program to our farmer members. And so it's been about 5 years in the works, but we're doing both of those things together, and working on a lot of other things too.
I have one more question. There, I can't help but notice you're so Iowa driven. Everyone on your board lives in Iowa. You get the input from the Iowa farmers. Yet you're global. You operate, very broadly. What benefit does that bring to Iowa and to its farmers? What do you hear people say about how they appreciate you?
I kind of think it's almost just a case of like, you don't pick where you're born. And so we just, it's just where we started, and and so we've got like, it used to be almost all members were here in Iowa, but now over time, as people have gotten older and and moved on, and we're roughly 50% kind of in north central Iowa, and then 50% dispersed across the country. But I mean, I live in North Iowa, and I would brag that I would brag about having a company like Ag Ventures Alliance here.
So what you're saying is farmers from other states can join your alliance.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of a key piece of what we've started to build out with Ag Launch, where we've got kind of multiple regions to test these products in, and as everybody knows, geography is really important when it comes to farming and agriculture, different crops, different conditions. So it's been a big value add.
Well, if anyone knows any farmers who want to get in touch with Spencer, you're going to get his email at the end of the program. So thank you so much, Spencer. It's as Jordana said in the chat, this is a pretty incredible story. So thanks for sharing it.
Yeah, thanks for giving me a stage to share it, and look forward to connecting with anybody afterwards.
Thanks, Spencer. And we